This is Excel 2016, Module 7, Part 13. And in this module, or this portion of the module, we will be looking at working with our macros inside the VBA programming language. So we're going to be looking at the actual programming language that gets created in the background while we are recording. We are going to be making a simple change to all three of our macros. So let's get back into our winter macro enabled workbook. If you've been following along with the various parts to this module, you will have had 3 macros. If you don't have all 3, that's fine, as long as you have 1 that you can work with. Now at the end of these macros, all 3 of them, we said to make the active cell A1. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense for our end user, because then that requires them either to move down to B3 or to use the mouse and click on B3. It would make much more sense to have all of the macros end on B3 so that it is ready to to start entering a new set of registration data. So we're going to assume that this is changed, and we're going to put a new customer in there. All right, so on 12/5/2017, Will Lang was registered for First Friday. So I'm going to click here and choose First Friday. He is G5. Then we need a large shirt. Whoops. There we go. Large. No, he is not a Rockport resident. Our guardian is Sandy Lang. And the address is 115 North 7th Street. Chrisney, Indiana 47611. Phone number is 812-555-3444. So we have a new registration record. And so when we get our 2 macros fixed that copy the data over here, you're going to see the new record there instead of the original one. All right, so let's go ahead and look at editing a macro. So I'm going to go to the macros, and I'm going to choose the PDF receipt. Then I'm going to choose Edit. I'm going to maximize the screen so we can see the entire code here. PDF receipt starts here. You can see the name. You can see the shortcut. And then you start seeing all of these commands. And you can see that the clicks that we made generated all of this code. This is what was created in the background. And so everything we were doing got recorded. And a little program was written and created and it ends right here with end sub. Now, as we're looking at these, toward the end, we find where it says range A1, select. So that means we clicked on A1. That's when we made A1 our active cell. We want to change that. So I'm going to highlight A1 and I'm going to make it B3. That's the only thing I need to change. So I'm going to go ahead and save that change. And then I am going to close Visual Basic for applications. That will bring me back to Excel. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run PDF receipt. And again, it's still opened up my receipt for me in a PDF. Notice it has the new individual's name and the new charges. And let's see where it brought us back to. And you can see that my cursor is back in B3 now instead of A1. So let's go ahead and fix our other two macros. So we're going to go into the macro and then we're going to choose transfer data and edit. Now sometimes you are going to see where you'll have both macros together. Okay, so for example here in this window we have transfer data 2, which was the one where we added the record at the top of the registration records. We did not use the relative references. So I'm going to go ahead and change that one to end in B3. And then right below that, you can see we have our last macro where we did use the relative references so that it would add new records at the bottom. So let's go ahead and also change that one to end in B3. So you can see that making a simple change like ending the cell, changing the cell that it ends in is not that challenging. But going through some of these and figuring out which line to remove that's causing it not to be marked correct by Sam can be a bit more challenging. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And then I'm going to go ahead and close the VBA again. And now let's test the first one. So I'm going to go in here, macros, and I'm going to choose transfer data. Now transfer data is the one that used the relative reference. So it should add our new information on the bottom, and then it should end in cell B3. So let's see what happens. It definitely ended in B3. Let's look at our registration data. And you can see that it did in fact add the record at the end. All right, let's go back and we're going to click somewhere else. And this time we're going to run the macro that says transfer data 2. This is the one that did not use relative references. So we inserted a blank row and copied the data onto the top. So let's see if this works. Definitely ended up back in B3. And you can see that it did in fact copy the data at the top. So all three of our macros worked after we made those changes using the edit option. And again, you could be expected to make minor edits. such as the ending cell or changing a range at some point that was selected. So you'll want to make sure you practice this, but trying to do some major edits to macros without knowing the programming language can be risky because you could remove something that is needed. So we're going to go ahead and save our work. So I'm going to go up here and click Save. And the last segment of this particular module is going to look at creating buttons. So we are going to work with creating some buttons for all three of our macros. And then I'm also going to place a button on here that does not have a macro assigned to it, and we're going to look at how to assign one when the button already exists. So we'll be doing that in the next segment.